Well, obviously coming off watching the tape from this weekend, there's some really good things on there. You know, the resiliency of really the whole team, both sides of the ball in that second half, executing, getting off the field on defense, holding them to some field goal attempts and things. And so pleased with that. But at the same time, there's a lot to clean up. You never really shooting to come out and get down 31-3, and so there was a lot of examples that we gotta improve and go from there. But a couple things really stood out to me was fourth down in general for both sides of the ball. We go 100% on fourth down, and they go over. Especially at the end of the game, they're getting the touchdown late for us on fourth down, and then us being able to hold them in overtime on fourth down. So that showed up, and then just really pleased with the effort in the second half from our defense, giving us an opportunity to come back in the thing, give up the early touchdown and go 29 minutes and only give them three points. Really was huge for us. So pleased to see the progression there on that side of the ball. But we got another great opponent coming in here to Research Stadium on Saturday. Already started the prep for the Trojans. Got a ton of respect for that program. Bunch of talent on the roster, and so it'll be a great challenge for us as we go along. But our guys will be ready. We'll be back to work, and again, this progression of just trying to improve week in and week out, competing on Saturdays and then improving, and that's not changing, and we'll go from there.
So going back to the game on Saturday, with Jake, he was good enough to play in the second half. Why wasn't he good enough to play in the first half? Was it just a preparation thing, or what was just kind of the mindset there, what you were thinking?
Yeah, he was so limited physically through the week of practice, and that we just weren't certain that he would be able to operate ultimately out there. And so felt good with the way Coletto had practiced. Went through this first half, and it got to the point it was like, well, we better try something. Knew he was going to be in a limited fashion out there, and I think that showed up in the second half. But he was able to make throws from the pocket for the most part, which was huge.
How did that discussion go at halftime? Did Jake approach you, or did you? How did?
No, that was it was more as the offensive staff, Brian and myself, really kind of chatting about it and figuring let's try to get a spark here.
And then going forward, is Jake the starter this week if he's healthy?
If he's healthy, but I think he is because he practiced pretty good yesterday. We'll get Connor back hopefully off of the protocol, and so we'll make a final say on that probably toward the end of the week. But obviously he played real well and gets an opportunity if he's good to go on Saturday.
Is Connor still in the concussion protocol?
He is. He was able to do a lot more yesterday, but he couldn't have done live yesterday. But we're anticipating should be good.
Jonathan, you talked about the success you guys have had on fourth down. Do you guys approach that any differently? Is it just, and then as for you, I mean, you've gone quite a bit. Do you just have a lot of confidence in what you guys can do on that down?
We make an emphasis of it. It was like, if we're going to go for this, we've got to have it. We've got to have our highest level execution. Depending on, we've gone for it a lot. Not all of them are just roll the dice like, hey, let's try this. Some of it is like short yardage, we can get it. Some of it we played opponents where we're feeling like we're going to need to be able to score touchdown versus kick field goals. So I like being aggressive in regards to letting our guys feel like we're going after to win the game on fourth down and giving us another chance to score. But we haven't done it all the time.
And then, you guys had so many tough ones. I know you guys so happy with that win on Saturday. Like you just said, hey, there's a lot to correct. How was the team on Sunday? Are you guys able to kind of get back into it? I know coming off a high, that might be kind of difficult there.
Right. I think the vibe's been good each Sunday in regards to getting back to work. Obviously, this was much more upbeat. Guys feeling good about themselves, which I'm glad they experienced it, obviously. These guys have been working so hard. And to come out on the right end was huge for them. So, like I've been saying the whole time, I've liked these guys' approach. I liked how they've been working. But winning a game does help over the long haul here.
With Jake, this is the third time now he's been in a meaningful situation, Ohio State, Nevada, this one. Each time he's been pretty effective, more so than the other guys have been. Is there just something out there that's going on offensively, not just with Jake, but the rest of the unit that's making things click when he's out there, or does he just have that it factor?
Well, the first game he plays, we didn't light the scoreboard up. Six snaps or something. The Nevada game, we were able to move the ball a little bit, needing a spark for sure. He gave us that. He just hasn't been able to stay out there. Nevada got hurt. He did play a little bit of the second half of Southern Utah. I mean, the guy's got some talent, and I think most of our team has felt good about whoever's playing quarterback. And then this situation with Jake this last half, he gave us a spark for sure, and we're hopeful he can stay out there health-wise.
The stats kind of back up that Isaiah Hodgins is a better player out there with Jake Luton under center. What did you kind of see from him kind of coming back, getting on the same page with Isaiah, and what does that chemistry look like? Have you seen anything that's that unique on this team?
I think they got some chemistry. I do think we've got some other guys that guys feel confident throwing them the ball to. I think with Hodge is that Jake has given him some opportunities, and some of these balls are like 50-50, like go get it, and he's come down with it. And so that's been nice to have, because the Nevada game, they made some of the similar plays, and so I know those two guys work really hard at it. But I think some of it has been the defenses we're playing. Sometimes it's Bradford a little bit more, and Timmy consistently makes some plays. And another guy stepped up this last game was Champ. Champ had 2 huge catches for us, and so feeling good as a group. The receiver play of making some plays when they can, but also blocking in the run game. We've talked about that and helping out Jamar and AP. So we're pleased with that group.
The defense gave up 536 points, but then the second half just kind of stood firm. Did you see a flip switch? Someone say something, or just?
I think it started with the line of scrimmage. I felt like this game, defensively, the line of scrimmage was equal, if not us moving the pile a little bit. That was huge. The ability to really control the run game in a lot of ways, because some of their most explosive plays was the quarterback scrambling and moving. I think he had 75 yards on 2 carries, and so you look at it that way. That was huge for our defense to be able to gap sound the line of scrimmage in the run game. They threw the ball a little bit, made some plays there, but I've liked the progression in regards to the work ethic. It's getting better, and we got a big-time opponent coming in here on Saturday that we're going to be able to step up to.
And on the defense as well, Matthew Tago's been playing significant minutes and was really going for the quarterback every single time.
Yeah.
What do you see out of him?
I think the guys continue to work and improve, and you're right. He played really well in that game. And he's a great kid. He's got some athleticism to him. He continued. I think every rep counts for him, and you can just see the experience paying off now that we're in the last half of it. And we kind of felt that with a lot of our guys and not just to the true freshmen. Some of these guys early on hadn't played a ton, continue to work and improve, and it's showing up as we've gone along here.
Coach, was that the biggest deficit you'd overcome in your coaching career?
I don't know that for certain, but I can't remember coming back from 31-3. So not 100% confident, but probably.
And you'd made the decision in the locker room to put Jake in, right? So after that 75-yard touchdown, it was okay. Well, we were going to do this anyway. How long did it take for you to think that we might have something here?
In regards to Jake coming
in and the beginnings of the comeback.
Right. I can remember us getting a couple of scores and looking up at the clock, and it's like, we've got some time here. We really, really do. And so, again, goes back to 4th down. That 4th and 2, he throws the fade to Hodgins. It's 31-3. And we get that, and you feel our guys have a little juice, and then we come back and get another score, and then you look up at the clock, and there's enough time, and this is only a, 17-point game or 14-point game. You're feeling decent toward the end of the quarter that we had a chance.
Jonathan, obviously this is your first season here, but can you just speak to getting that 22-game road losing streak off your back the way that you did in your first season, and just kind of being able to maybe erase those ghosts of old past to move forward with the program?
I think it's big in regards you don't have to answer questions about it. Our kids don't have to read about it anymore. At the same time, we're not a finished product anyways. We got to win, but we're trying to get more of them, and we got a ton of work to be able to accomplish that. So, it's a big deal in regards to not having to talk about it, but at the same time, it's not the biggest win in the school's history.
And Coach, talk about the biggest thing you see out of USC that could potentially pose a problem for you guys on Saturday.
Well, it starts with their explosive athletes, receiver, running back. They can explode quickly. I know they have some good young talent at quarterback. I know they've had to rotate it a little bit injury-wise, similar to what we've had, but I know all three of those quarterbacks through the recruiting process, they got some talent there with some good kids. Defensively, starts up front, they got some good young D linemen, so they present challenges in a lot of ways.
Injuries, AP, he didn't play, ribs, is he anywhere?
Didn't practice much yesterday. It just kind of aggravated early in warm-ups, really. And so we're hopeful that it can progress and get back.
Then do you have anybody else that, Tufaga didn't,
Nope, he didn't go. That was kind of a late stinger that took place. Where hopefully he can be back this Saturday. Gus went down, Lavaca, and he moved around a little bit yesterday. I'm hopeful he can go.
is Morris practicing at nothing?
Not practicing, not yet.
I think he's probably unlikely to play this season at this point.
I don't know about the C. We're hopeful maybe the last game or two, but I don't see him playing this weekend.
And then with your kicker, shoe care, he misses the extra point. That's, I'm sure that's something he's got to carry around a little bit more. Are you still confident he's your guy, or are you sort of looking around a little bit?
No, we're confident he's our guy. He works really hard. He's got some talent. I mean, he made some big kicks. A couple of field goals he made. Yeah, that last one was tough, but again, goes back to him fired up with the response of our team and rallying, and then he bangs through the next one in overtime. So he's our guy. He's got some talent, and he works hard.
Coach, you talked about kind of looking up after the second touchdown. Now it's 31-17. Is that kind of when you thought, oh, okay, this is more than just trying to improve from play to play? You're starting to think about winning the game. Is that why, after the defensive stop, when they went for it on fourth down, that looked to me like the energy from your team at that point was, yeah, we can do this.
That was huge. Again, I go back to this defense because 31-17, I think it was toward the end of the third quarter. That's enough time. You're down 2 scores. It's actually when we started having the conversation of wanting to go for 2 because me and Brian did talk about it. Like, we got down here and all of a sudden this thing is, extra point ties it toward the end. No, we're going to go for 2. And the interesting thing about that is, like, our 2-point play for the game was mostly, with Coletto in the game, so it was a little bit different, something Luton couldn't do. And so we did talk about it for most of the fourth quarter on what we would call, and then it turned into being the call Hodges comes down with.
So then you even had the luxury to settle for a field goal, to cut it to 31-20 because you didn't have to have a touchdown. Right?
Yeah. And we, because there wasn't just enough time, and we were moving the ball and getting some stops, and so, and Jordan bangs it through, which was big.
And the use of the 2 quarterbacks, how proud of you were of Jack Coletto to, after kind of a rough first
Right.
half, to hang in and become a big factor in the win?
I think that just shows, the maturity of him, and it's a team game. And we've got a bunch of guys that have responded that way because it's tough. When you get pulled out of the game, the guy had prepped the whole week, plays hard. For him to stay in it, and he came up huge for us. And so I thought it was just another example of our guys always kind of battling and responding.
You mentioned a push at the line of scrimmage defensively. Was Jeremy Reichner, Elu, was Reichner, both of those guys, was that maybe the best that they've played so far?
Yeah, I know. For sure it was Elu. I mean, Reichner's, is still only but second game back, but those guys were big in regards to stopping that run game, and it does start up front.
The start of the second half, it almost looked like the exact same play almost that Cal ran. Is there something coming out of halftime that maybe you just
Yeah.
got to go, you got to remind these guys, you better get in that gap?
Be
or
ready
is there
to tackle somebody, yeah. Yeah. I know specifically on this one is, the wideout was killing us. And so we ended up making an adjustment at halftime. We're going to start double teaming that guy. Well, when you start doing that, there's no safety back there to be able to tackle. We did misfit the run, so no one's sitting in the B gap, hits right in the B gap, and then, of course, the safety's clouding the receiver over there, and he outran us.
Yeah.
So,
And then in regards to USC, this is obviously out of your hands because you've just started coaching here, but they've got 4 pretty big-time players from the state on their roster. As a coach of one of the 2 big schools in the state, wanting to put a sort of a fence around the state, does that bother you that a school like that's getting all these players from Oregon? And do you want to do something to change? Trying to change that? Or?
Well, yeah, recruiting's competitive now, And so it just goes back to, again, one of our philosophies that we want to recruit and get the best players in this state because there are good players in this state. I know specifically on a couple of those kids, the recruiting battles that took place, because I've been recruiting at another spot where we're recruiting some of those kids. So it just validates there's good players in this state. We want them, and we're going to go after them.
Coach, on your offensive line, how well did they play in a game to allow that comeback to take place, to give Jake enough time to get the ball out, but also to have on that same day a 135-yard rusher and Jamar goes over
Right.
1,000?
Yeah, they were big. I mean, they needed to just clean some things up from the first half. I thought, we weren't giving Coletto much time. I thought Luton helped things out by getting the ball out pretty quickly. In some of the schemes we were running, we were calling more of that. But those guys were battling, and also we had a couple guys go down, and the next guy up, and they came in the game. So there's some positives from that group.